Hello internet, and welcome back to another video on this channel. In this video, I actually wanted to do something different. I'm actually not talking about a game today. I'm actually talking about a TV show, specifically an MCU Disney Plus TV show. Yes, I am talking about Daredevil Born Again. There is going to be a new, I guess, season of Daredevil. It's because it's supposed to be like a continuation of like the Netflix show. And so yeah, there's going to be a new season of Daredevil. It's titled Daredevil Born Again. And I really wanted to talk about if I think this show will be just as good as the Netflix Daredevil show. And I guess the reason why I'm kind of making this video is because I really love Daredevil. Like, if you were to ask me like top 3 like favorite superheroes of all time, like Batman would be one of them, Spider-Man would be probably another, and then yeah, I would probably like Daredevil would be like probably third. Like if I was to like rank them, I would probably go like Batman, Spider-Man, Daredevil. Like Daredevil, like, and specifically I'm talking about like the Netflix show, because that's how I got into Daredevil. Like that is how I was introduced to this character and to like, you know, Wilson Fisk and like Karen Page and Foggy Nelson and all these characters from the show. And that Netflix show, like, I don't know, man, like this is mainly why I am making this video, because a part of me is I want to say, I wouldn't say I am worried, but a part of me is excited for this show, because I know they put out a trailer, and I have seen the trailer, and it's a pretty good trailer. Like I enjoyed what I've seen so far, but I'm really just making this video to just like express like how I'm feeling about this new season, and like if I think if it can like live up to like how good like the Netflix Daredevil show was, and like how it can kind of like build on and continue what the Netflix show did, and if it can like live up to like just how good that show was. Like I feel like, and I feel like a lot of people do feel the same way I do, like in terms of like, and if you want to talk about like Marvel TV shows, like Daredevil is probably like arguably the best like Marvel TV show, like not even like Marvel TV, like just TV shows like we've had in general. Like it beats out, like in my opinion, all the Disney Plus MCU shows. It beats out like even like when Daredevil was like on Netflix, and you had like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and like Iron Fist. Like in my opinion, it still beat out like those shows for like being like the best like Marvel TV show like ever. Like that's just like the interactions between like Wilson Fisk and like Matt Murdock, just like their back and forth with each other like throughout the seasons. And obviously you had different characters like the Punisher and freaking Elektra, and I'm trying to think of just like the supporting characters in that show were great. Like obviously like the dynamic, the rivalry between Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock was like what is basically what made that show like like I don't know, just like also just like the fight scenes like in the Netflix Daredevil show were super like super well put together, and just like everything about like the Netflix show, just like the writing, the storytelling, the acting, like everything about like the Netflix Daredevil show was just like I would even say like masterpiece like worthy, like just like how like good like the Daredevil show was. And so that's why I'm like low-key kind of like worried about this new Disney Plus show, because obviously those seasons that I'm talking about were on Netflix. So like in terms of like production value, obviously, you know, Disney Plus is a more, not to say like the production in like the Netflix show was bad. I would say it was actually pretty good, but like obviously you can do more in terms of like with I guess like MCU money, like in terms of like what you can like show and like what you can do with the character. I guess it more like in terms of like of his like I guess like acrobatics and like in like fight scenes and stuff like that, obviously. But like I'm just, a part of me is just worried to think like, will this show be as good as the Netflix show, and can it still retain that feeling that I had for like the original show? Because I don't know, when it comes to Disney Plus like MCU TV shows, it's really like a hit or miss for me, and I feel like it's been more like miss than hit for me, because I guess starting off we did have like shows like Loki and WandaVision, which I thought were pretty good. I actually thought the second season of Loki was actually pretty good, but like in terms of like, and I actually, even though I feel like people like kind of hate on the show, I actually did like Moon Knight too. I actually enjoyed that show too, but like I don't know, I just want this show to like be able to like retain what it had from like the Netflix show, but also like build upon what just made that original Netflix show great. I know we originally the show wasn't actually going to be connected to like the Netflix show like at all. Like I think originally like Karen Page and like Foggy Nelson weren't going to be like in the show like at all. It was supposed to be like just a different like, obviously it was going to have like Charlie Cox as like Matt Murdock in Daredevil, and obviously it was going to have Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk still, but it wasn't going to be a continuation of that story. So I am glad that they are continuing it, and hopefully, I mean, I don't know, I just hope this show is good. that's really it. In terms of like how this show can like tie into like the larger MCU, I'm not really like that excited. Like I don't know, I feel like present MCU right now is not like something that like has been like hitting for me. Like I know there's been like a new Captain America movie that just came out. There's supposed to be like the Thunderbolts, there's supposed to be like the Fantastic Four, and I am actually like interested in seeing that Fantastic Four movie, because I did think it looked pretty cool. But like I didn't see Brave New World, I didn't see Thunderbolts. So like in terms of me like actually keeping up with like the MCU and like actually watching the movies, I've kind of like stopped doing that, and I've kind of stopped doing that with like the TV shows too, because like I think the last Disney Plus like MCU show was like Agatha or something like that, and I actually heard it was pretty good, but I don't know, I just wasn't interested enough to like actually watch it. And so I don't know, it's weird, because like the MCU Disney Plus shows just have like a certain vibe and a certain like just way about them that it's that is different from how like the Netflix show was. Like if you want to talk about like some of the best like television like ever, I really do think like season like I still think season 2 was a pretty good season, because that season had like the Punisher and like stuff like that. But like I feel like season 1, especially season 3 is Daredevil is, I want to say that's how I got into like the Daredevil show, because I remember specifically before that I hadn't really like watched Daredevil. I think I had seen like clips of it, but I think I specifically remember watching season 3 of Daredevil and going like, holy crap, this is like I would even argue that's like season 3 of Daredevil is like some of the best like television I've like ever seen in my entire life. Like some of the just like the story that they had in that season, the way they were like the dialogue, just the characters, like just like the storytelling in season 3. It's just something about it was like super special and super like engrossing and just like amazing to me. And so like I don't know, that's just why I worry, because like obviously, you know, it's in the MCU now, and it's gonna be connected to like this wider it's just gonna be connected to the wider MCU too. And I did hear that Charlie Cox's Daredevil will, I think, will make an appearance in one of the Avengers movies, like either Doomsday or Secret Wars. So he is supposed to like actually appear in one of those movies, which is actually pretty cool, because like if you like look back at like Endgame or like Infinity War, like people were actually like wanting like Charlie Cox's like version of Daredevil and like the Defenders to actually show up in like Infinity War and Endgame. Obviously it didn't happen because at the time, you know, Disney didn't have like the rights to like put those, I guess, like characters in the movie, because you know, at the time they were still on Netflix. But like the fact that we're actually getting Daredevil, because I know he was in No Way Home, and I know I know Wilson Fisk was in Hawkeye. I know he was in that show too. And I don't know, looking back at Hawkeye and like Wilson Fisk in that show, even like I even forgot about like Echo, like the way that they the way that they did Wilson Fisk in Echo, I didn't think was bad. It was just like the way they ended, like the way like they ended up using that character in that show. I was just like, I wasn't a fan of like his like relationship with the main protagonist in that show. That whole show I just thought was like not good. Like I even think it had like Daredevil in that show too. Like he was only in there for like one scene, but like I don't know. It's just like stuff like what they did with Wilson Fisk and like Echo and Hawkeye, and like I know we've seen Matt or in She-Hulk. I know he was in She-Hulk too, but even that, like I was like I didn't dislike what they did with him in that show. Like I particularly wasn't a fan of his costume. I know like the yellow costume is like a thing from the comic books, but like I don't know, just like the design I wasn't really a fan of. So I am glad that they are going back to like the traditional like red and black like costume. I really hope they end up like putting like his like Daredevil, like his like double D like logo on his chest by the end of this season. That would be pretty cool. I guess another thing I would that I want to talk about is that like they have said that this new season is supposed to be more, I guess, like brutal and more bloodier than like the Netflix show, which that is cool, but like I don't think that doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna be like a better show, obviously, or it's gonna be a good show just because it is more brutal and bloodier. I would even argue, like, yes, the original Netflix show was like brutal and it had bloody moments. I mean, there was one part where like freaking Wilson Fisk's character like smashed a guy's like head in with like a car door. And so like the original Netflix show was like super brutal and like bloody, but like I don't think that's what made that show like necessarily like good. I think the violence in that show was kind of just like a vehicle for like just like Matt's like internal like struggle of like him being a Catholic and him struggling with the idea of like just like his morals and like the difference between right and wrong, and like his struggle with like, I am a Catholic, but like Wilson Fisk is like such a corrupt person. Like, should I kill this person, or what should I do? Like, is the law enough to like detain like a person like this? And so like those ideas in the original show were so like important that like it kind of outweighed like how the violence and like the brutal and bloody like, you know, aspects of the show. But I don't know, we'll see. I know John Bernthal's Punisher is returning for this new season. I don't know how he's gonna like fit in with like the story. I heard like in this new season he's gonna be like, he's supposed to be like, I think helping Daredevil like take down like these kind of like corrupt I guess like police like people who like kind of like idolize him, but like are not doing like what the Punisher, I don't know, we'll see. But in terms of like what my kind of like theories of like how the show or some of the, or like I kind of like my theories of what's gonna happen in the show. I have seen the trailer, so like from what I've seen, like there are scenes of like, there's obviously the scene of Wilson Fisk and Matt like sitting in a diner, and Wilson Fisk is like, why'd you give up being a vigilante? And he goes into like, there was like a line that was crossed. And so like, I think in the show we see that, you know, Bullseye's character is also in the show too. And so like, I think there's gonna be like, I think at the beginning of the show, in my opinion, there's gonna be a scene where like Bullseye goes and tries to kill Karen Page. Because if you remember from the season 3, it's like his whole thing was that like he needed to like kill Karen Page, because at the time he was like working for Wilson Fisk, and he never completed that mission. And so like, I think in this season it's gonna start with him getting out of jail somehow, and him like going to try to kill, or him trying to kill Karen Page again, and then, you know, him and Daredevil are gonna fight, and then something is gonna happen. Either I don't know if Karen or Foggy Nelson, either one of them, I think, is going to die, and that's gonna cause him to like maybe end up accidentally killing Bullseye, or like something's gonna happen to like where like something major is gonna happen to like where like he gives up being like Daredevil for a while. And so that's gonna be interesting to see. Obviously Wilson Fisk in the show is running for mayor, so like there's gonna be like, you know, that whole thing is probably gonna tie into like how he's gonna probably try to stop like vigilanteism in like New York City. And so like, also another thing I wanted to bring up was like, I know this has been a long video, this has been like a 16-minute video, I didn't mean to go this long, but I love talking about like this character and everything. Just like the last thing I wanted to talk about was just Spider-Man and like Daredevil. Like, I really want like a Daredevil and Spider-Man team up. I know that there have been like talks of like what the new Spider-Man movie is going to be. A lot of people want it to be like a grounded, kind of like street level like type like movie, and I'm definitely all for that. All for that. I think that would be really cool, especially after No Way Home, with like how like, you know, big that movie was. I feel like bringing it down to like a street level type like movie with Daredevil would be pretty cool. That would be so cool to see. Like that would be so cool to see, like Daredevil and like Spider-Man going up against Wilson Fisk. Like, bro, that would be amazing. But like, obviously, you know, I don't know. I don't think Sony's gonna do that. Sony obviously wants there to be like another team up with Tobey Maguire and like Andrew Garfield with Tom Holland. And I mean, that would be cool to see, but like I don't know. I just really wish they would focus more on like the street level aspect of like Spider-Man, because we've seen like him, you know, go to space and like fight Thanos and like do all this crazy stuff. But so like, I feel like it would be like a good change of pace if we saw him like hanging out with Daredevil and like fighting like street level crime. Like, I think that would be pretty cool. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to like talk about in this video. Leave down in the comments section below if like kind of like your thoughts on like the new Daredevil show, if you think it's going to be as good as the original Netflix show, if you think it needs to maybe actually do something different from like the Netflix show, because in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily have to be a one-to-one like the Netflix show. Obviously, if it did its own thing and still retained some of the aspects of like the Daredevil show, like that would be great too. But just leave down in the comment section below like what your thoughts are. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. If you guys enjoyed it, maybe leave a like and maybe subscribe. That would be very much appreciated. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. So bye. Also, if they don't have Daredevil fighting in a hallway, it's an automatic 0 out of 10.